It's a wild world out there, but some worlds are even wilder. Hi, my name is Tyler Hapney, and you're listening to Dungeons and Dystopias. Thank you for listening. Hello, and welcome again to yet another episode of Dungeons and Dystopias. I am your game master and host, Tyler Happy. I've run hundreds of sessions of Cyberpunk RED and Dungeons and Dragons combined, and this podcast is a way for me to reconcile my thoughts on both of those systems. Today, we're going to be continuing our series on Night City 2045, the new source book that released for Cyberpunk RED, and we're going to be continuing to talk a little bit more about the island, the central island in Night City, where a lot of sort of the bigger parts of the city are, some of the larger buildings, some might say. And today we're actually going to be starting with some of those larger buildings because we are going to be beginning with the downtown region. That's right, downtown Night City. And if you have, of course, listened to our previous episodes on the topic, then you'll recognize some things I mentioned, such as security code and utility code and all those fun things. So without further ado, let's get into it. Today we're going to be discussing downtown. It is security code 8. It is run by Whitewater, their security, so I'm presuming that is a, obviously, specialized sort of corporate military force. And then they are, of course, hardened light enemies, so you can expect some decent backup of that force. The utility code is 3, which means typically things are up here. You don't really have to worry about losing a ton of utilities, but it can still happen. So definitely keep that in mind. So the city manager of downtown is Amelia Ortega. She is an executive 6. She's all right. Based off of this description of her. It doesn't seem like she's necessarily got a whole lot of baggage. It says that she used to captain one of the giant cargo ships back before the Fourth Corporate War. So she's just an administrator. So it does say here, Mr. Kernigan is the real force behind everything, which of course, if you've looked into Black Chrome, or any of the maybe Black Chrome pluses, you'll know Mr. Kernigan, or at least you'll recognize the name. As for the types of people you might run into in downtown, you've got the old people who've been here since before the Fourth Corporate War. So they're all in the sort of mom and pop sort of little shops that you might be able to see around. But of course, there is, the corporate takeover that's happening. The people coming in after all this sort of cleaning is happening to try and reestablish downtown. In other words, gentrification. They are currently opening cyberware clinics, designer gear stores, and luxury body sculpt shops. And they are just trying to turn downtown into basically the spot for Night City's elite. Which, good work, I guess. Maybe that'll work out for them. I don't think so. Whitewater Security is, of course, the private security force of Amelia Ortega. They are here specifically to protect the chamber's interests, not necessarily the people on the streets. So, yes, they basically do act like a gang. So if you're in the downtown region, just keep that in mind. Whitewater Security, they do operate a little tough. It says here, recent history is that most of downtown used to be a fancy district named West Hill Gardens. But after the Fourth Corporate War, a lot of the rich fled from this part of the city, and a lot of the lower sort of working class moved in. So there you go. And now it's kind of mixed in with Little Europe. If you're wondering exactly where downtown is, it is south of Little Europe, I'd say, just slightly. Not a day, this is an exact quote, not a day goes by that the Undertow isn't causing trouble, usually with low-grade explosives and gunfire. Then we've also got the Eastern Tigers Triad in Whitewater, having massive shootouts down by the waterfront. And then we also have the Skiv family has been hitting the chamber on another front, by sabotaging construction sites run by crews without mob ties. So there you go. We do have a little bit of mafia there, I suppose, but yes, that does seem like there is quite a lot going on here in downtown. Something that could perhaps become a story hook. And speaking of story hooks, the most recent DLC has released for Cyberpunk Cyberpunk Red. And I was going to talk about it, but it's just a list of story hooks. Which, yeah, I mean, I could talk about that for a long time, but just if you're looking for story hooks, keep an eye out on that most latest DLC. That'll help you out quite a lot. All right, let's talk about some of the spots here in downtown. You've got Acacia Way, number 1. It's got security code 9, so this place is like Fort Knox. There's a lot of security here, and it's hardened to medium, so it's a lot tougher than what you'd find just patrolling the streets. These guys they're watching this place quite a bit. It is a single street, walled off like a fortress, with bungalows that look like they would belong in some exec's daydream of Beaverville bliss. Once again, exact quote. Basically, yes, it is a high-end neighborhood, or the highest-end neighborhood here in downtown. However, it is evidently all a show. It's all sort of cheap housing, I would imagine. It is, well, it's made to look nice, but you're just as likely to get hit by the next tsunami or whatever that is going to hit Night City. There's the Bella Vista Market. This one's a classic. It is a nice little day market, in quotes, tucked away inside what used to be a parking garage. I do believe this might be a location we've seen before, at least the map of in Black Chrome Plus, but that could be a different market parking garage, I suppose. Considering I don't think the Andersons have a ton of pool in downtown, I'm not quite too sure, actually. Cafe Bouchon is a cafe here run by a fixer, Monsieur Jacques. So, hey, seems like an interesting place. Continental Brands is headquarters here. There is, of course, also means that there is an Oasis Mega Mart for your shopping purposes in downtown. We've talked about the Oases before on this channel. They are crazy. I personally a big fan of Oases and just having them pop up in neighborhoods and sort of the story implications that come along with that. So it is always nice to see Continental Brands and Oasis here because I have personally used quite a lot of Continental Brands in my games. And then continuing with Continental Brands, we have Continental Plaza. This is going to be the it's the Plaza. It's the big centerpiece here for the Continental Brands location. As it says here, the big centerpiece of the plaza is this over-the-top 3-tiered fountain. It's just this huge, gaudy fountain that I think probably stands out amongst the rest of downtown here in Continental Plaza. The next one I want to talk about is the Delirium. I think I've talked about Delirium here, but Delirium is an alternate reality nightclub where basically you put on these glasses that make you see the club and the inhabitants and maybe even the drinks and everything in there completely differently. They've got a ton of different styles. There's goth punk. I know there was like a skate punk thing. It's just all different types, and they don't actually list them here necessarily on the thing. They do in the old Tales from the Red, but it seems here they don't actually give us a list of the proper sort of styles. Or is the Europa Meatworks. Europa Meatworks used to be an old industrial site, but they turned it into an artisanal butcher shop. What is the specialty? Old world sausages and cuts of meat you've never heard of. So there you go. You looking for some gabagool in Night City? Well, you probably get some here. This place is run by Todd Lovett. He's a level 2 executive. He is in fact cloning this meat. So there you go. And if you've got a taste for the unknown and the stomach to go with it, this spot will serve you a meal you'll never forget. Just don't ask where that filet comes from. Exact quote. Next location. we're going to be moving on to, there's a lot here. So I think we're going to be doing maybe one or two more here and then moving on. The Nightingale Theater is presumably one of the homes of the Juilliard because it is security code 10 and these guys are guarding it. This location is home to a lot of the artsy fartsy sort of sections of Night City where they seem to have fringe performances, indie bands, and underground raves. Obviously, like I mentioned, the Juilliard Guild runs this place. They are fighting to keep this alive because they love the local art space of Night City. Next up, let's talk about the freaking hot zone. If you don't know what the hot zone is, well, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's the part of the city that got nuked back in the Fourth Corporate War to end the whole shebang. We're still dealing with the massive radioactive crater in the middle of the city. So there is no city manager. Why would there be? There is really not a ton of population, other than scavvers, gangs, criminals, insane people. You find plenty of those in the hot zone. But yeah, as for normal people, nope, probably not. There are really no security here. Though NCPD might be around, they typically fly over the zone in AVs in order to do anything actually here. So if they're going to be enforcing something, chances are they're just going to be, you know, just sniping you from a distance. And it says here that there are some nice AV tours where rich people can snipe at or drop barrel bombs on people who are in the hot zone. That's terrible. That's absolutely terrible. Well, it says here as well that the hot zone is shrinking a little bit more each year. Little Europe, the Glen, and the Marina are sort of closing in on it. Maelstrom is not having that. They tend to genuinely like the hot zone and hanging around there. But, well, there you go. Zarafa here has problems with their newest heavy equipment. Maelstrom and the Reckoners are currently clashing over Reckoner equipment and squatter or recruitment in squatter camps, but Maelstrom beefs with everyone. I've personally had it turn into a larger war in my game, but that's obviously up to you. So let's talk about some of these special places here, real quick. Number 2 of these locations in the hot zone is the Crater, which is, of course, one of the homes of the Reckoners. They love the Crater. It is 50 meters deep and highly radioactive. And of course, the Prophets or the Reckoners love it. They think the place is holy. They are thinking, exact quote, their prophets are here around the clock, chanting constantly about how the proto-harvest, perpetrated at the center of the Dark City, marks the glorious coming of the blah, blah, blah. Exact quote. They send pure souls to patrol the place and guard their prophets. Watch out for glassy-eyed idiots with SMGs and visible cancer. So yeah, just keep in mind, if you're going to the actual crater, chances are you are going to be coming across some serious business. And here's another one, Dark Zone 1. Security code 11. And who guards it? No one knows. Question marks. Hard and heavy. So whoever it is, it's tough. No urban explorer has been able to get a drone to map this site, and mysterious snipers kill anyone who enters on foot. Such tight security suggests a corporate project someone doesn't want seen. Raven Micro Cybersecurity, or Cybernetics, EBM and Infocomp all had offices here, so who knows what the truth is. My guess is that one of the big players, this is exact quotes, by the way, is digging beneath what's left of Infocomp, which is an extremely interesting concept because of how much information Infocomp had. However, a lot of that was kept in a data fortress, which would have probably collapsed after the data crash. Anyone who finds an intact cache of secrets in the now defunct information mega broker could upset the balance of power in the entire corporate world, which, yes, would make sense why someone doesn't want anyone getting close. But now the question is, who is it there at Dark Zone 1? Well, that's only really for me to speculate on. And, obviously I would say maybe someone like Arasaka could be an interesting one to throw in there. Maybe they're working through a shell company or something. Who knows? Or even, like Biotechnica could be an interesting one. Could even be Militech. There's a lot that could be. There really is. And then last, we're going to talk about the Totentans. Gotta love the Totentans. It's in 2077, just at a different location. The Totentans is effectively the seat of power within the hot zone. It's run is Maelstrom's place. It is run by Maelstrom. It is a huge place with like a fighting ring, a basement. It's a tower. It's a tower club, and you go up an elevator. And I had mine towards the top, but you know. They fight anyone who tries to rehab the surrounding blocks. So any corporate sort of construction or anything that's going on there, they're going to have a lot of problems with Maelstrom. There's no cover charge at the door. The smash is always half off. And well, you can't typically see all the cyber psychos hanging around you. However, it is of course important to mention that on a good night, if the Totentans is less than 20 fatalities in a night, it is considered slow and boring. So just keep in mind the Totentans is a rather dangerous location that well, you probably don't still want to mess with too much. The signature drink here is the Armageddon. Exact quote, no idea what is in it, but theories include bug spray, antifreeze, and human blood. It is served in a rusty can for €10. Wow, that's gotta be, well, that's an interesting one, just in general. All right, well, let's talk a little bit about our metaphorical monster of the week. As we come here to the end of the hot zone, let's just talk about scavers. Because, I mean, hey, they're going to be in the hot zone. In fact, Maelstrom is part scaver. I mean, they probably wouldn't want you calling them that, but that is objectively some of the stuff they do. A lot of their guys like to go out and scavenge in the hot zone for various pieces of cyberware, weapons, and other gear that are heavily irradiated. But, you know, it is Maelstrom, so they'll put that in their face anyways. But yes, scavers, they are the representatives, the people of Night City who go out and collect cyberware off of corpses, or not even corpses. Maybe they are the types to just kidnap people and rip their cyberware out against their will. In which case, yikes. Not a lot of people are great fans of those types of scavers. In fact, not a lot of people are generally fans of the normal type of scavers either. Generally, as I understand it, scavers are not seen very well within the perspective of Night City. Some people just want to let those bodies lie, but hey, make hay while the sun shines and dismember some corpses and get some money out of it. Why not? But yes, scavers, they are the ruthless cybernetic junkies that make the backbone of Night City's night markets and black market run. As much as people probably don't want to talk about how much the cyberware they just got off of some guy is probably stolen off of a corpse or off of the back of a corporate, convoy, or in any of the other strange means in which supplies find their way into Night City. Scavers. Typically, when it comes to scavers, I don't know if there's necessarily, I mean, yes, we do have now with the Night City 2045 book, an actual faction of scavers that have been explicitly named. However, in general, as I understand it, just scavers aren't necessarily, well, they're not necessarily marked by anything crazy. A lot of times they just get together and rip people apart. I mean, look, you've seen it in Cyberpunk 2077. It's literally one of the first people you see are scavers. They are well, I did mention some specific names for some scaver groups. They've got names like some interesting ones, like the Crawling Cobras, or the Diggers, which serve as a crew for a larger gang like Maelstrom. So the Diggers are related to Maelstrom. But most weapons that a scaver uses are going to be salvaged from the bodies that they are picking through. So typically not going to be the highest quality weapons, not going to be the highest quality gear. They're pretty basic kind of booster gangers, but still a threat at the end of the day. If they manage to get their greasy hands on you, I mean, getting cyberware ripped out of your body is never fun. In fact, I'd say it's probably excruciatingly painful and potentially deadly. So, if you're being surrounded by a group of these guys, I would act with caution. Or, maybe throw a grenade and run. That's always an option as well. As for now, that'll be the end of it this episode. Next week, we might talk a bit more about Cyberpunk RED. We might talk a bit more about Dungeons & Dragons. I'll have to see sort of where we're at. But as for now, my name has been Tyler Hapney. This is Dungeons & Dystopias. Thank you so much for listening.